Storm Area 51. Hi, I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle now. And Bill, what started as kind of a joke on Facebook, a young guy about 20 years old started a Facebook event saying Storm Area 51, and so we can see them aliens, has turned into something that at last count, almost 2 million people have confirmed that they plan to attend the event. Another 1.5 million people said they were interested in it. And some hotels in the area are reporting that they are getting booked up, and not only hotels, but campground areas that people, not necessarily 2 million people, but people are planning to come to this effort where we're just going to run into Area 51, which is, of course, a U.S. government facility, I think managed by the Air Force. Bill, first of all, is there something more than a joke here? I mean, is it just that 2 million people or 3.5 million people think this is funny? Or do you think that there's some serious commitment here?
Oh, no, they're going to do it. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't young people today storm Area 51? When have they ever been stopped before? When have they ever not gotten the toy they wanted? When have they ever not gotten the demands that they had from their high school or their teachers? When have they ever not had their way before? Ever. They have never not had their way before.
Now, are you sure it's all young people, Bill? Because Area 51, the mythology of Area 51 has been around for decades.
Yeah, but no, you'll notice that even though while it's been around for decades, nobody's been making an offer to go jump over the fence for decades, because for a while there were still adults in the country. This is what happens, and it's. I don't know if it's primarily social justice warriors or people think it's a gag, but how many times have I seen video of a millennial who will, let's say, take a Trump sign and walk away with it or tear it up, and then she's arrested, and she's utterly astonished. She's just astonished that this could be happening. You know, it's not like she's even angry or she's, what? Yes, you're under arrest. Me? All I did was move a sign. Yeah, but it's his property. But I just...
That's impossible.
That's impossible. So the question is, what's going to happen? Because something's going to happen. Of this, I'm quite certain. I don't see this thing just everybody just saying, we were just goofing off. So they're going to go, and they are going to violate the borders of Area 51. The thing that is most ironic and pathetic about all of this, actually, honestly, is that if they were to get their way, and I don't think they will, but if they were to get their way, the disappointment that they would face would surely blow their minds, you know? I mean, they might see some interesting variations on a cool jet or something like that, but that's not what they're going for. They're going to see the flying saucers and the alien bodies and all the rest of this magical stuff that's been kept at Area 51 and so on. And by the way, kids, I know this doesn't really sink into you too much, but if the entire world knows that we keep all of our top secret stuff at Area 51, then I guarantee you that our top secret stuff is no longer at Area 51.
It's already been moved to Area 52.
Yeah, and there is an Area 52 apparently. It's been moved, but put all this aside because that's not the issue. The issue is going to be this. Are they going to get away with it or not? If they get away with it, then that is the end of that's not only the end of the security of a military base, it's the end of everybody's private property. It's the end of banks. It's the end of everything. It's the end of department stores. If people can just simply walk into Area 51 and have everybody just simply do what we've done for their entire lives, which is just give them their way, if we back down, if the government backs down over this, then there will be no reason why they should respect any kind of authority at all. They should simply walk into, a Macy's, and they see something they like and take it. Let's just all get together.
This is where you're wrong.
Hang on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is where you're wrong, because they're not going to just walk onto the Nevada Test and Training Range, which is the area that includes Area 51. The founder of this movement, this event, actually said the plan is, in case that they try to shoot at them when they're doing this, that they are going to Naruto run onto the base. And this is apparently taken from an anime character, Naruto Uzumaki, a Japanese anime character who runs with his chest pointing forward and his arms jutting straight back behind him. And this is how they're going to manage to dodge the bullets. Now, again, the guy who started this is now saying, well, gee, I really didn't, it was supposed to be satirical, somewhat fun, and now he's concerned that there may actually be slaughter.
Well, he should be concerned that there may actually be slaughter. And I'll tell you something, because this thought just came into my head. If 100 people get shot trying to do this, and he's not even there, it's not his fault. You see how that works? It's not his fault. If he makes a joke or something like this, and people go and do it anyway, then, and he says, "Whoa, I'm just kidding." It's not his fault. If it's his fault, then it is true what the left says, is that people are just these robots who are programmed by whatever they see and hear last, and that they have no free will of their own, no decision-making power of their own. If they see a guy doing something, then they'll do it too. Don't get me wrong. If it turns out to be that, I think this guy has a heavy moral responsibility, but it's not the same as it being he made them do it. So let's talk about what...
He told National Public Radio that he is planning to go there, but not for the intended purpose, because he's still saying, hey, this took off like wildfire. I intended it to be a funny meme. But he has been talking to some people who are planning some kind of other event, something educational maybe, but he's not clear exactly what the lesson would be. Certainly he's saying, I'm not going to be sprinting through the desert with my arms out behind me at 3 a.m.
Okay, so this guy sounds like a fairly reasonably intelligent guy who had some funny idea, and it got completely out of hand because he decided to launch an insane meme into an insane society, and people took him at his word. But let's just go ahead and deal with what may happen. Because, as I said during a Stratosphere Lounge episode not too long ago, we always expect that the worst things will happen, and we're always disappointed by how far below our expectations of the drama are. And the second I finished saying that, there was an earthquake right here in the building.
That's true.
But
he is not making that up.
But when we think about Y2K, or we think of the ozone hole, we think of global warming, we think of all of these things that are going to happen, they're going to be catastrophes. I remember this last hurricane season a couple years ago. There was this one hurricane. It was I don't remember what it was. It was in Florida. It was going to go right up I-95 and destroy the entire state. You know, this is what we expect will happen. We are wired for drama. We're wired for reversals and so on, after the way movies have programmed us. But let's just think about this. Again, logic is our friend here. Either the people will show up. I have no doubt that they'll just consider it another Burning Man. So people are going to show up. When they actually see the desert, and when they see how much running forward with their chest forward and their arms behind them, how many miles they're going to have to cover, that's going to take care of most of them. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that a significant number of people, hundreds, maybe thousands, let's say, decide that they're going to go over this perimeter where it says, caution, lethal force will be employed beyond this point. What would happen then? What would happen then, I think, is that I don't think that this is going to catch people by surprise on the inside of Area 51. I suspect that large amounts of non-lethal weapons will be brought to bear. And I suspect that as people keep going deeper into the complex, these warnings will continue. And I suspect, if I had to guess, the warnings will sound like this. Warning, you will get an audio warning. Then they would probably go to tear gas, I would guess. If the tear gas didn't do it, I have seen footage of something that sounds like science fiction, but it's not. It is a device that broadcasts microwaves. It's non-lethal and it's non-permanent, but when that thing is turned on you, you feel like your skin is on fire. I've seen a group of people from the Air Force in uniform, including Air Force generals, willingly going out there to undergo this test, see what it's like, and they just say, whoa, turn that thing off. And so I suspect we have enough non-lethal means to basically turn these people around. I think that the majority of people are just kind of innocent and kind of stupid young people who think that they can get away with anything, the thing I described in the beginning. But I'm also quite convinced that somewhere in this crowd, there are people whose calculation works something like this. It would be to our political advantage to have a number of young people shot by the United States government. It would be to our political advantage in the same way that Kent State was to the political advantage of the people who are trying to stop the war in Vietnam. There are people out there, we see it with the Palestinians all the time, and we see it with Iranians and a bunch of other unsavory people who understand that the power of seeing 18, 19, 20-year-old kids covered in blood being dragged off of a government facility helps them paint Donald Trump as a fascist and a Nazi and so on. And they're more than happy to spend other people's blood in order to make that point. That's what I suspect is driving the actual, no, we're really going to do it kind of thing, especially now that you tell me about the guy who had the original idea and is backing out. He sounds like he was just kind of goofing off. But people took a hold of it, and young people have to have a cause to protest, Scott. That's all they do. That's all they know how to do, and it's all they've been allowed to do. The only thing that this generation has ever been encouraged to do is protest things. They're not encouraged to start their own business, not encouraged to succeed individually. All they know how to do is protest things, and this is the ultimate protest against the military-industrial complex. So I'm sure they think it's a lark, and if I had to predict the most likely case would most of them swear they're going to be there, and then they're going to sleep late that day and not show up. Some of them are going to show up, and they're going to see what the desert looks like, especially in the summertime, and they're going to realize it's not just stepping over a fence and walking into a building. It's stepping over a fence and walking 15 miles to the buildings that are shimmering off in the distance. That's going to deter a lot of people. And the ones that are not deterred are going to be deterred by whatever level of escalating force that the government decides to employ against them. And I'm sure that will be non-lethal force, and I'm sure that non-lethal force will do it. But if it turns out, and I cannot imagine this happening, if it turns out that large numbers of people were willing to walk through clouds of tear gas and things like this microwave stuff and all the other non-lethal defenses that we have, rubber bullets and sandbags and all the rest of it, then it may become necessary for the government to fire some shots over people's heads. And if they hear the bullets whizzing past their heads and they keep coming, if you have the luxury and the time, then you shoot for the legs. If not, you're going to have to drop one or two people who are in the front of this running forward with their arms peeled backwards. And that is what will happen. And if it happens, the person responsible for this will not be the guy who said it would be a funny idea, and certainly the people not responsible for this will be the people who walk past a sign, audible warnings, tear gas, rubber bullets, microwaves, or whatever, and just simply refuse to stop. That's not who will be responsible. Donald Trump will be responsible. Be his responsibility that these kids were hurt or killed. That's why it's happening, and that's why it's dangerous. But one way or another, I can tell you what I am quite convinced will not happen. I am quite convinced that Area 51 is not going to be overrun by a bunch of largely millennial people. I'm quite convinced that this is not something that the government is going to back up on, because if it does, there is no government anymore.
Well, in fact, the Air Force has issued a statement. I should read the wording of the statement. Hang on a second here. Here we go. Any attempt to illegally access the area is highly discouraged. So, Bill, this is, I think what you just described is a high level of discouragement there. I think that the only hope we have between now and September 20th at 3 a.m., which is the scheduled date of this, September 20th, 2019, is for the government to persuade this group of social justice warriors, millennials, whatever you want to describe them as, that this area is actually a native intergalactic resting place and cannot be disturbed, because there are actually, it's a sacred ground for the alien civilizations. Let me just ask, to get beyond that, Bill, is this the end of dark humor? Because you just can't do it on the internet without the risk that somebody is going to take it literally and go off and do something insane and hurt somebody?
Humor's been dead for a decade now, unless you have the courage to swim against the culture, which people like you and I do, and people like Steve Crowder do, for example, because of all the things that I find almost unbearably hypocritical is listening to people like Chris Rock or John Cleese talk about how, oh, it's unbelievable. I can't even do a college campus anymore I can't even tell a joke anymore on college without people booing and so on. This lack of freedom of speech is just intolerable. It's your progressive politics that put us there. Those are the politics, and those are the people you voted for. All of you entertainers, all of you left-wingers have voted for a culture where victimhood trumps everything and outrage is the only coin of the realm. And so the idea of telling a joke about something, as we understood it, is finished among the left. Among the right, we still have the ability to have a sense of humor about things. And that's one of the many reasons why I'm convinced that they will not win. They're a bunch of humorless, unhappy, miserable, angry people, and nobody likes them. And they can't joke about anything, because to joke about something would be to lower the level of injustice in society, and injustice is the lifeblood of the modern left. It's all there is. And since the real injustice has been gone for 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years, now they have to invent their own injustice, and they can't do that and make fun of it at the same time. So dark humor is finished for people who are willing to be silenced by these arbiters of morality, decency, and everything else. But for people like Steve Crowder or other people like you and me, we make the offhanded comment. Steve Green, we make a lot of flip comments on things in right angle, because we are already Nazi, racist, white supremacist, homophobe, Islamophobe, murdering, sons of bitches. So once you get the label, you're free in a way.
Well, there is a secret private area where things are going on that would be absolutely shocking to the progressive left. And these things I'm talking about are things like civil dialogue, reasoned thought, exposition of time-tested principles, and yes, a lot of laughter.
Impenetrable barrier is what it is. It is an impenetrable barrier to progressives.
This area is called the membership zone at billwhittle.com. This is where access, it's a private conservative enclave, which is accessible only by those people who have joined this movement of liberty lovers by becoming members at billwhittle.com. If you'd like to have access to that, I really feel like now we need to have some sort of a litmus test after saying that. But so far, the only litmus test is the color of your money. It's $9.95 a month, and some people are actually paying for other people by paying more than $9.95 a month. Some paying $19 a month, some paying $49 to make it possible for so many people to see these videos. We invite you to become part of that group by going to billwhittle.com and clicking that Become a Member link. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members for making this possible.